Welcome, everyone. My name is John, here with my brother Jake and good friend Brad, here to sift through the wreckage of last week and talk about what's left. Cheap equipment, no budget. We are a work in progress, the punk rock garage band of podcast, adding our voices of resistance as loudly as we can. Before we get into it, please like and subscribe. The Derealization Nation is growing, thanks to you, especially on TikTok. Boy, we're booming over there. Thank you all for being here. Please tell your friends and fellow travelers. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, Substack, and, of course, YouTube. We regularly share newsworthy stories and funny posts from other services. It pays to follow us, and it's free. Our content will always be free. Consider supporting our work, though, by being a paid subscriber on Substack. Memberships start at $5 a month, and there are group rates and other discounts available, too. All right, let's bring in the gang. So, the president visits the Middle East to pay tribute to war criminals, terrorists, and imperial fascists. Republicans move forward with a big, beautiful bill. A recent high school graduate is shackled and imprisoned in Georgia by ICE without any cause. The Supreme Court continues to pussyfoot around a constitutional crisis. Vladimir Putin continues to play Trump while having Z over for tea and an official state visit. DHS Secretary and silicone statuette Kristi Noem doesn't believe in human rights or due process, but she does believe she deserves a new private jet from taxpayers. RFK's brainworm warns us not to take medical advice from him, and something about a golden airplane. It's a real river of raw sewage this week. Let's dive right in. How's that? Was that all right?
Good. I like it.
All right, Brad, as you floated down shit river this week, which turn of a story brushed your cheek?
I'm going to talk about the bill that was just passed by the Ways and Means Committee of the House. It will now go to the full House for a vote. I understand that this bill will not be the final version of the bill. I'm well aware of that. I know that the bill will be changed in the House. I know that the bill will be changed in the Senate. And I know that we are still nowhere close. I know they say Memorial Day, but yeah, right. There's no way it's going to be on Memorial Day. I'll truly be impressed if they do. But anyhow, so the vote was 26-19 along party lines, kind of as we expected it to be in the Ways and Means Committee. And no tax on overtime was not in there. There is a tax deduction at the end of the year for your overtime. However, if you make too much money, that tax deduction goes out the window. You're not seeing any more money in your paychecks. That's not happening. If you are considered a high earning employee, or I'm not sure the exact term, but I believe it's a high earning employee, so I think it's over $120,000 for the year. It's either 120 or 160. You are not eligible for the no tax on overtime. That doesn't apply to you. That doesn't apply to you. No tax on tips. And they are actively working to cut healthcare for millions of Americans. And even though this bill is not set in stone, and I am well aware that it will change, everybody should take a good, hard look at the fact that Republicans were willing to push this through with huge cuts to healthcare for Americans, without the no tax on overtimes, without the no tax on tips. They were willing to push this through. They're willing to increase the debt ceiling to take away healthcare from millions of Americans. It makes no sense to me that people still want to tell me that the Republicans are the party of the people. Like, what are we talking about? It's just a lie. And I understand this is not the final bill, but Republicans in the Ways and Means Committee would have been completely content if this was the final bill.
Right, this is the one that they want, though.
Yes, this is exactly what they wanted. They're thrilled about it.
Yes.
And although it will change, they don't want it to. They would be completely content right now with billionaires getting tax breaks, your taxes not going down, and in fact, after a certain point, people making the least amount of money in America are taxed at an insane rate. Insane. Something like 74% if you make less than $15,000 a year. What are you talking about? Like, are you saying that like children or like working college students aren't going to get tax refunds, so they're going to be taxed at 74%? Are you kidding? Is this a real thing? Is this the party of the fucking people? It's insane to me that we still like live under this facade that the Republicans care about people when it's very clear that they don't give a fuck about you. The Republicans are the party of corporations. It is ever apparent, and they are throwing it right in your fucking faces while everyone that is pro-Republican is telling us, nuh-uh. Well, we see it. It's in fucking writing now. We see that the Republicans do not care about you.
Yeah.
They don't. It's just simple and plain. I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired. Like, again, the bill is not done. However, Republicans will be content if it was.
Yeah.
And it strips away healthcare from Americans. It does not help you. So even if you do get a tax deduction, with these tariffs and the cost of living continuing to go up, you're merely getting your tax refund just to stay afloat and so you can do it all over again the next year. It's disgusting. It's disgusting, the lack of care the Republicans have for people.
May I add the cuts the SNAP, which is a double-edged whammy to both children and farmers?
It's a huge hit to our economy because regardless of what they say, SNAP stimulates our economy. It provides money. It allows for farmers to sell their product. It allows for manufacturers of all the food in America to continue producing food and being purchased at the same rate.
Yeah.
And it's like the Republicans can only see step one. Like they don't understand, like, if you do this, this is what will happen. They're stuck on the if you do this.
They've somehow carved out being the fiscal party of fiscal responsibility without understanding a goddamn thing about what it means to be fiscal at all. They don't understand the word investment, which is beyond basic economics. It's just basic English vocabulary.
Higher tax brackets for departments of higher learning for college universities, increasing the taxes on college universities. Why aren't we allowing them to continue to invest in research to make our economy better? We've already talked about this in former podcasts, but what are we doing? What are we going to do with that? Buy more bombs to send to fucking Israel to blow up little Palestinian kids?
Probably.
Is that what you plan on doing with the money? It's truly asinine to me that I have to listen to people say the Republicans care and the Democrats don't when we're seeing it in real time. And we all agree that the Democrats can do more for the people. No one's saying otherwise. But to say that the Democrats are not the party of the people and the Republicans are is a fucking lie. It's just a fucking lie. It's a decade of propaganda that these people have been fed, and it's fucking annoying at this point.
In the before times, back when we lived in reality and people read newspapers and things like that, this was the concrete way to find out how your representative represents you. You would go and you could look before you voted at their voting record and see what they voted for and against. And you can still do that. That is still very much available to you, and it's absolutely so much easier than it was before. A quick Google search will take you to congress.gov. You can find the voting record of any and all representatives. And that is what you should do. You should know how your representative in your state votes for things like feeding hungry children or bombing innocent children in Israel or in Palestine. So, like, it's not that difficult to know, and this stuff is important, like Brad said, not because this bill is law, but because this bill shows you what your representative's priorities are. This is how you should determine who you vote for in Congress, which is exceedingly important, because although they're not showing it right now, Congress is more powerful, or at least as powerful as the president. That's an argument you can have with constitutional scholars all day long, but it is at least as powerful as the president. And it is much more important because it represents the people individually. So you should know, and this is one excellent way to know. And the Republicans that don't stand with the bill, Brad, they don't stand with the bill not because it's too bad or too inhumane. For many of them, it's because it's not inhumane enough. Many of them want more cuts and more tax breaks. So
it's so disheartening to see.
Yeah. And there is some subtleties to the types of tax breaks and things like that that they want beyond what they have, like SALT. Those things are exceedingly boring. If they interest you, you can go and Google those things. But so we won't talk about that stuff because it's a fucking snooze fest and it's way in the weeds. But Those are the kind of things that this bill is hung up on, not the fact that it's inhumane. That part is okay with them. So, yeah.
Yeah. They don't care about kids. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They care about corporations. Make sure everybody get their kickbacks from the money they pledge to their fucking campaigns.
Jake.
Yeah. Well, I hope, because college is extremely expensive. I think everybody knows that. And I know several times where my tax return paid for books, paid for food, paid for everything. So I really hope this doesn't affect, because at college, it's necessary now, really.
Yeah.
And these kids have to put the money in, and it's not easy to get working a part-time job and going to school. Hard.
Yeah. Well, just another short decade, and they'll have a good little iPhone screw factory to work in. So, won't need that college education after all.
Speaking of that, Trump's so mad at Steve Jobs for Tim for moving to India.
Yeah.
He's sick about it. He said, "Wait a minute, you were supposed to come back here."
Yeah.
No, idiot, because it's still cheaper to fucking build our shit somewhere else and send it there than it is to fucking build in America.
There are 400,000 unclaimed manufacturing jobs. MAGA, are you listening? Go get them. Go on. Get them.
Yeah, now.
Oh, damn bad they're out there. They're out there and they're in your district. They're not being built in fucking San Francisco because they definitely don't want them. So go on and get them. Go ahead. Fucking Ohio. Fucking Texas. Run out there and get you a good manufacturing job. Yeah, they're out there. You just don't want them. So get ready for more jobs you don't want at pay you can't afford. Anyway, yeah, the bill is trash. It's atrocious. Rand Paul is an interesting outlier. I think when we were talking about, I just want to, real quick, because we talked about what the future of the Republicans might look like. Rand Paul's the one out here trying to make himself look a little bit different than the rest of them right now. Talking shit on tariffs, talking shit on the bill.
Yeah.
But all while maintaining some very strong conservative, what do you call them? You know.
I think Rand's the closest thing to an actual fiscally conservative Republican left in the whole block.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm not saying that he thinks that we should actually be expanding social programs, because he doesn't. That's not what you know what I mean? He's just saying, why are we adding all this money to the fucking deficit in general? Like, he doesn't understand why they're adding trillions to a deficit.
Did we throw that number
actually, I don't know if we said it. I think it was like 4, 5. I don't know. When you talk about trillions, yeah, we talk about trillions. It's just play money at this point, right? This is all just fucking made up. This is all, you know what I mean? But yeah, Rand Paul is actually cut more programs, get rid of the tax cuts for the billionaires, stop spending money.
Yeah,
we don't need any. Yeah, fuck them all. Fuck everybody.
Yeah, he's libertarian to the core. He's like, the government is closed. Go fight for your food.
Yeah, he's the only person actively trying to get himself out of a job.
Yeah, for sure. He's like evil Ron Swanson.
Yeah, but it's weird when you're like, you know what, Rand Paul, you're right. Like, I fucking hate myself for that.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. So that's it. Republicans don't care about you. Let's not pretend like they do.
Amen. Jake. So, what wormy, dye-free, bear-meat... Hold on a second. Jake, what wormy, dye-free, bear-meat, ivermectin-infested turd caught your eye this week?
So mine's like different than what I usually talk about. I don't know if I've ever really brought this up, probably because I don't know a lot on these types of things, so it's like hard for me. But I looked into it. Mine's on the Department of Homeland Security, wanting to request National Guard troops, 20,000, to help with removing migrants. And it's never not been stated whether they'd be used for like travel or transportation, if they're used for security or to detain them or even like help with arrest. Like no one knows what they'd be used for. I know that Donald Trump requested more forces be used, but I just didn't know if that was real or what they would be needing more numbers for. It makes it feel like a little bit more scary because like I watched the videos of these people being taken off the streets and it's like terrifying. And then to add like a National Guard kind of like authoritarian figure makes it even like worse. And even more like reflecting back on American people taking like because that's who represents our army and everything. It's like our core. And it made me like wonder if it's because people are fighting back now, like there's more pushback that they want to bring in these higher guys that have like a little more authority than the what do you call them, the beat down cops or whatever.
Yeah.
And then instead of them, like you know what I mean, like someone else that has like a little bit more power. And then I don't know why, but people talk about like Nazis like in the a lot with Trump's like reign, and I looked into like what they did with their concentration camps and things. Who they targeted were political opponents, minorities, and migrants. And then I looked into like who did these arrests and who like carried them out. And they don't have like a national guard in Germany, but they had the SS, which is like their national guard. And then they had the Gestapos, who were like our ICE forces. So like it's just kind of like scary how like you can put two and two together. And that's just me doing research.
Yeah.
They had no idea about any of this before. It's scary.
It's fucking terrifying. During the hearing, they asked Kristi Noem if she knew how easy it was to impersonate an ICE officer, and they showed her like the fucking costumes you can buy on Etsy for Christ's sake. Like,
They're making costumes on Etsy.
dude, you can go kidnap anybody you want now. It's fine. Just make sure they are a darker shade of skin than you. That's all. Just like as long as they look like a migrant, kidnap away. Grab you a nice uniform, traffic. It's ridiculous. Like I'm only saying it to point out the absurdity of it all because it's beyond sickening. And if they do that, which they might, it would be, these things are justified to call them Nazi-like, In Cuyahoga County, in Beechwood, some dude took 100 books about Jewish history and LGBTQ plus books and I think and racial history books and lit them on fire and posted it to a right-wing website. It's Nazi shit. It's Nazi
They
shit.
fucking loved it. They fucking loved it.
They did. They ate it up because they're fucking Nazis, right?
This is my question. Essentially, if you are not a legal immigrant of the United States or you have an active work visa, you are at risk of being deported. So if you are here to seek asylum from your country, you will be deported. If you are an undocumented farm worker, you will be deported. But tell me why we're wanting to enact 20,000 National Guardsmen to continue doing these no-knock raids to deport these people that came here looking for a better life, looking for asylum to get away from the country that they were coming from. So we're putting 20,000 more people into the streets to, round them up, I guess, as you could say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're bringing in South African refugees on planes, and we're we're for that. Here's the thing: I'm for that. Bring the refugees because if they are in crisis, bring them here. However, the same refugees that are brown-skinned, that their countries are in crisis, leave them here as well.
Damn
because
right.
There's no reason that we should be accepting some refugees and not accepting others. I don't understand how they can just be like, actually, go ahead and bring the white ones on the Learjet. If you don't mind, if you could just take the jet out and pick up the white ones, bring them back, and then hurry up because we got to get these National Guards out on the street to get rid of the brown ones.
No, that's exactly it. The brown ones leave on military airplane in shackles, and the white ones come in on private jet. And every nightmare scenario that conservatives clutch pearls about free health care, housing, food, cash money walking around. They got it. They got all that shit. Now, here's the thing. These are, again, when these things do happen, when people are brought here and are given a little bit of help to get started, they're usually put directly into jobs or here to fill, say 400,000 factory jobs that nobody seems to want. And these things are investments that help us to put money, start pumping money back into our economy. These things actually, statistically, help us make more money, help us be more economically stable, help bring neighborhoods up out of poverty. Bringing in 59 fucking more white millionaires is not helping a goddamn thing. Nothing. You know what it is helping, apparently, is helping American farmland to get bought up by more foreigners. That's something else that we'll be keeping an eye on. There is a rumor going around that Acre Trader, the JD Vance app, is highly invested in by several of these people who have bought farmland here in the United States. So that's also a thing. And to bring it all back to Kristi Noem is already way the fuck over budget and was scolded as such in the Senate already. It's insane how much money they've spent rounding up people who aren't even criminals. So not only are we losing that economic push, we are doubling down and spending absurd amount of money to get rid of people who just want to be citizens more than anything. Let's not forget about like Andre, like the gay hairdresser. That man was clearly not in any gang. If you look at any of his Facebook posts, he was just a normal human. He came here to seek asylum the proper way, was given a hearing, and while he was voluntarily detained, he was sent to life in prison in Seacott, along with 300 and some other men who we know nothing about their origin story, know nothing about whether their criminal history, but certainly very few things could even begin to justify an argument for the justification of placing someone in a concentration camp for life. So let's get fucking real here. This doesn't need funded. This needs stopped. This needs stopped before it gets any fucking worse. I do not want to have to be in a country where we have let some kind of atrocity like Germany let happen in the 1930s to 40s. I do not want to wake up one day and know that we were responsible for the murder of thousands of people. I don't want to find out what happens to those people at Seacott. I want them out of there. I want that place closed. Sick fucking National Guard troops deploying the U.S. military on U.S. soil. It's dystopian.
Hell yeah. This is America.
Is it?
Yeah, it might have been, brother.
Yeah, it is. We can't, that's the thing, like, what we thought we were, we ain't.
We never really were. We just hit it well until they were like, hey, y'all, racism's cool as fuck again. And they're like, oh, hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's a good transition to look at our final turd. So things that we thought America was, that it isn't. So I'll pre-course this by saying that typically the U.S., through USAID, tries to build diplomatic relationships in countries, encourage them to invest in American businesses, allow them to be part of their burgeoning infrastructure and economies. It's good for us and it's good for them and it builds goodwill. And that is especially true of ally-like states where there is a form of liberal democracy where everybody participates in their government. Those are especially good places for us to be We don't want to see too many more fucking Qatars or Saudi Arabias or UAEs. We prefer, or most people would prefer to see places that have a bit more, how do you say, have a few more rights for their citizens than those places. So anyway, there's a story in ProPublica about a small African country called Gambia. The ambassador to Gambia, who was appointed by Biden, now works for Trump, and her job has changed. She was sent in the early months of the Trump presidency to Gambia to essentially threaten, as Doge was running through the government, tearing up USAID, that if they didn't allow Starlink into their country, they were going to lose their funding. And this is funding that was for a basic, like $25 million, because all these investments are tiny. $25 million for electrical infrastructure. And so they went there, and they basically, not even basically, they went in and they tried to pressure them into accepting Starlink, despite their obvious, hesitation to allow Elon Musk in. The Trump organization actively was pushing Starlink, and Starlink is a big part of Elon Musk's revenue. 150 million of his 500 or billion of his 500 billion comes from that inside of SpaceX. So it's part of SpaceX. So there's an official who used to work for George W. Bush who was quoted as saying that if this was done by another country, we would absolutely call this corruption, because it is corruption. He was a high-level State Department official of the George W. Bush administration. The Washington Post has reported that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has instructed U.S. diplomats to help Starlink so it can beat its Chinese and Russian competitors. So now that's the focus of the U.S. diplomats. They've been, instead of focusing on, say, diplomacy or goodwill, it's hawking Starlink. Probably Teslas too. Multiple countries, including India, actually sped up their proposals with Starlink, trying to get the tariffs removed. Of course, we know the story behind Musk. He fired all his programs, stripped USAID, and they're basically holding this stuff over the heads of these small African nations, trying to force them to take on Starlink, which is still run by Elon Musk, even though he's still part of the government. So, of course, it's a conflict of interest, but no, it's not, says the Trump administration. For the umpteenth time, President Trump will not tolerate any conflicts of interest, said spokesman Harrison Fields in an email. All right. Executives Starlink have expanded all across Europe. An April State Department cable to D.C. obtained by ProPublica quoted a Starlink employee describing the company's approach to securing a license in Djibouti, a key U.S. ally in Africa that hosts an American military base. We're pushing from the top and the bottom to ram this through. So why Africa? Well, lack of reliable internet, and it is the fastest growing population on Earth. The reason that Gambia is hesitant to accept this is a couple of reasons. One, most of their, 20% of their jobs come from laying cable for the internet and working at the local internet provider. Very small place. In Nigeria, where Starlink is, they killed off the competition and raised prices. Classic Walmart move. Classic capitalism.
Classic monopoly. Classic monopoly.
So that's naturally Gambia looks at that and says, well, that's kind of that's bad. And then they were also concerned because of how Musk held Starlink over Ukraine's head during the war. And the one tweet about, so Musk tweeted about that and said that they could shake their fist at the sky. All right, cool. That's not weird or dystopian at all. So Gambia, by the way, is one of those natural allies, like I was talking about. This is a pretty good dictator. One of them, someone in the UN called it a prime partner to the West, the smallest and best boy in class. They called him like the nerd, basically, of the class. And so here's a country trying to do well, trying to do good, and the U.S. is stepping on their neck to try to force Elon Musk's shitty internet down their throat. You guys remember Lesotho? Does that sound familiar? Trump mentioned them in his State of the Union address.
Yeah.
It was some shithole country that nobody had ever heard of. We were spending $8 billion or whatever for LGBTQ plus. Well, Lesotho, which is in South Africa, has spent a ton of time trying to get Starlink there. And they finalized a deal after Trump imposed a 50%, what the fuck is that tariff for tariff on Lesotho. Right before the pause. So, imagine that. So, all of these things have been done in service of one billionaire or another. You think there's no point to these, like, what could they possibly be getting? And Elon Musk doesn't want any more money. Bull fucking shit. These billionaires are ruthless and brutal, and they have 4 years, they hope, to get as much as they possibly can, and they are grabbing every grubby red cent they can, every fraction of a percentage they can from Medicaid, Medicare, from Gambia, from fucking Lesotho, from you, from me. Every fucking nickel they can squeeze, they will squeeze. Yeah. It's been reported widely that Starlink gets preferential treatment everywhere now because of pressure campaigns. So yeah, it's sick though, like to think, don't think like Elon Musk is going to fade off into the distance or try his best. But he's still first chair at the Saudi Arabian fucking spectacles. He's front row and center there. The State Department is working for him. The fucking AG works for him, prosecuting people who spit on Teslas. I don't know what they do to Teslas, but, allegedly people have done some things in your Teslas, and now they're going to be fucking terrorists. Everybody's a terrorist except for the actual terrorists that are offering our president $400 million airplanes. That's an actual terrorist. That man is a terrorist. I'm sorry. I'm going to pivot a little bit, but it is crazy to me. Just a little bit in the comments, some of our videos. Do not sanewash who the fuck Saudi Arabia is. Saudi Arabia is not Palestine. Okay? These are not this. They are doing nothing. They are complicit, maybe more complicit than the United States in the genocide of Gaza. Okay? Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, all of them. Likely the new leader of Syria too, since he's tied to both Al-Qaeda and ISIS. These are bad fucking people. These are bad people in charge of small countries. Small countries that are really just big oil corporations. And Trump is over there fucking grabbing their balls, stroking the shaft, slobbering all over them, can't stop talking about how fucking handsome they all are, is upset because he doesn't have as nice a plane as them, is upset because he can't violate as many human rights as them, and he's openly crying about it and bitching about it. And I refuse to sanewash someone who had a journalist murdered, cut up into little pieces, and moved out of the embassy in fucking suitcases. All right, these are not good people. Not good people. And he's spending the whole week over there. And I can confirm that story about the golf course is true. It's $5 billion golf course in one of them. Doesn't fucking matter. Because they are all imperial fascists. And that is exactly who he wants to be. He wants to be able to do the same things that they do. But we are a much larger bully than they could ever hope to be. So yeah, that's my turf for this week.
Yeah, Elon Musk had the president of the United States on the fucking White House lawn selling cars. You'll never convince me that this isn't all to have things go his way in the government. Like, come on.
Why isn't that the poster in every congressional race? Like, just,
I just don't understand it.
you know, vote blue on top of a picture of Donald Trump standing out in front of the White House in front of all those stupid fucking Teslas. That should be the only reminder people need to be of what's going on.
Yep. It's very clear. This is all just for personal gain. Like you said, the plan is to absorb every penny they can and pray that they don't go to prison for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It sounds like we're reading just a list of conspiracy theories, but it's reality now.
But it's what's actually happening, right?
Out front, out loud, unhidden. No fancy mystery to solve, Scoob. It's just corruption. And it's just blatant, and it's just everywhere. Fucking Hunter Biden be goddamned. It's fucking ridiculous. All right. Let's take our first break. So tonight, as we sign off the first part of the show, a change in tact. I'd like to shout out Adidas. I was today years old when I learned that people with Down syndrome have other genetic push issues, and Adidas has chosen to do something about it. So in lieu of this, here's a story from Disability Scoop. One of the world's largest foot companies is developing a shoe specifically tailored to the needs of Down syndrome people. Adidas said that it is working with Kristi Noem, who is known as the first person with Down syndrome to complete an Ironman. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name. And other athletes with the chromosomal disorder to design and test the first of its kind product. Unknown to the world, people with Down syndrome suffer from genetic foot anomalies. For these 6 million people, access to sports can feel impossible, the company said in a promotional video about the effort. Adidas is building a performance shoe for the Down syndrome community and 1.3 billion people with disabilities. In the video, people with Down syndrome and their family members describe difficulty finding shoes to fit their feet with a wider toe area and narrow heel, but very tiny but wide feet. Without proper shoes, they say that significant pain is common, which can make it difficult to participate in activities. Our product team is working with athletes, including Chris, with disabilities to say, "What do you need?" said Bjorn Golden, the global CEO at Adidas. There are many needs around the world in different groups that we can actually care for, and I think this is just the start. This is not Adidas' first effort to support athletes with disabilities. The company previously worked with Niche on a campaign to urge marathoners to set aside bib number 321 for neurodivergent runners. Adidas plans to make its shoes designed for people with Down syndrome available in 2026. Bill Knight, where the fuck you at, bro? We'll be back.
I love Adidas. That is my favorite brand, and that